If you were the governor today, what would you do to get the legislature to pass an appropriately balanced budget?
I'd show up to work every day.
All right.
I'd be in the building. I'd be meeting with groups of legislators. I would have already done a survey of the amounts of money that we need to maintain current service levels, particularly to our neediest individuals. I wouldn't have begun the debate in the legislature by talking about an $8 billion problem, but giving them a $6 billion solution and calling that balancing the budget. I would have presented on February 5th a balanced budget, which is what the constitutional mandate for a governor is in this state. And let me tell you, if a Democrat had ever done what this Republican governor did, the papers would have been all over us. So we've got to hold the governor responsible. But let me assure you, you won't have to remind me of what my responsibilities are as governor. For 14 years, I've always presented a balanced budget. And we've had to raise taxes some of those years, and some years we haven't. We've been very conservative. I'm a Democratic mayor whose city-side spending has increased at less than the inflation rate over a 14-year period of time. It's part of that track record I talk about, being able to go toe-to-toe. But I would have begun by treating people with respect, proposing a balanced budget, and then be willing to talk about, well, listen, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe we don't spend as much here, and we should spend a little more there, or a little, but treat people with respect. What we need in this state is an activist governor. Anybody who appears before you and tells you that the past has been good, or the way that we've done things has been good for the state is not telling you the truth. We need massive change. We need an infusion of new ideas. We need new levels of investment. The governor of Massachusetts has set aside $1 billion to attract and grow businesses, firms, who are researching in the medical sciences, producing in the medical sciences, manufacturing products in the medical sciences arena. And already they've taken 2 companies out of Connecticut. Now, if we don't respond, right, if we're not going after the next big technology, then in the next go-round of smaller budgets or recession, we're just going to hurt that much more. We've got to be a partner with those institutions. We've got to help those industries grow if we're going to grow our economy. Otherwise, those things are going to happen. They're just going to happen someplace else. And when they don't happen here, it just means that the taxes that you have to pay, or you have to pay, or you have to pay, have to be that much greater because we didn't grow our economy.
In your 14 years in Stamford, you've had a variety of different challenges with working with both sides of the aisle, so to speak, in Stamford, and still being able to get things done.
I am viewed as an economic growth Democrat. People understand that I get it, that if I'm not growing the economy, I'm raising people's taxes, right? So I'd much rather grow the economy. So I want to be very clear about that. I do lead in a city that has the 2nd largest Republican Party in the state of Connecticut. The only larger party is Greenwich next door. Now, we actually have more Democrats than Republicans, but it's the 2nd largest number of Republican voters, and I have a 40-member city council, a little bit like a legislature, with a very substantially sized Republican population. So I've had to lead in the crucible of multi-party systems. I have learned how to negotiate. I have learned how to lead. And I think that that's what ultimately the office requires. Quite frankly, I think that that's what ultimately the state of Connecticut is looking for, is somebody who's capable of grabbing this thing, of shaking it up, and changing direction. But I actually do believe as a Democrat that we have an obligation to leave this world a better place for our having lived in it, something my mother told me on a daily basis. I actually believe that we as Democrats believe that to our core, and we execute upon it. That we actually do worry more about how other people are doing than how we are ourselves doing. We don't spend our time trying to figure out how we're going to make ourselves richer as a party, but rather raising the tide so all boats can rise. That's what we are as Democrats. That's what we need to run on in this state. That's the message that's going to get us elected. And we ultimately have to change this absolute disaster we've had in Connecticut.